Pokémon Snap fans have been clamouring for a sequel to the beloved N64 game since its release in 1999. Now, over 20 years later, they're finally getting it, in the form of new Pokémon Snap. And while this sequel is not overly ambitious, it's still a lot of fun and a far bigger and more fleshed out game than the original Pokémon Snap. I've really been looking forward to seeing how this game panned out, as I was curious as to what a modern take on this idea would look like. And while new Pokémon Snap probably won't win over anyone who didn't like the original game due to its simplistic gameplay, it does enough that it should satisfy most fans of the original game. Interestingly, new Pokémon Snap wasn't developed by an internal team at the Pokémon Company. Instead, it was made by Bandai Namco. Though this shouldn't come as too much of a shock, as they have worked with the Pokémon IP before, as they previously developed Pokken Tournament. I never played Pokémon Snap back in the day. In fact, it wasn't until it came to the Wii U Virtual Console that I finally checked it out, and I really enjoyed it. While it was only a fairly brief and simple game, I thought it was very unique and charming, and I could easily see why so many people fell in love with it on the N64. If you never played Pokémon Snap, it's a spin-off that couldn't be more different to the mainline Pokémon games. Instead of capturing and battling Pokémon, it saw you simply observing and photographing them in their natural habitats. And new Pokémon Snap doesn't stray too far from the original game's formula. While new Pokémon Snap is not a story-heavy game, it still features a lot more story than the N64 game. It sees you travelling to the Lental region, an area of the Pokémon universe we've never seen before. Your job here is to photograph the region's Pokémon to help the local professor, Professor Mirror, with his research. Along your journey, you'll also be trying to unravel the mystery surrounding the Lumina Pokémon. The Lumina phenomenon is a mysterious occurrence in the Lental region that's causing certain Pokémon to glow. While the story is nothing to write home about, it's totally inoffensive, but clearly skewed towards younger audiences. Though for a game so light on story, it has a few too many lengthy, exposition-laden scenes of boring dialogue. The gameplay of new Pokémon Snap consists of going out on expeditions to photograph Pokémon. Like the original game, these expeditions are entirely on rails. You're in a cart that's constantly moving forward, so all you're really doing is looking around and taking photos. While the gameplay is extremely simple, that honestly works in the game's favour. It's a very relaxing and almost meditative experience. New Pokémon Snap is a great game to play in between more intense experiences. I was playing this at the same time I was playing Resident Evil Village and Returnal, and new Pokémon Snap complemented those games perfectly, as it was a nice way to unwind when I needed a break from playing those more involved and stressful games. New Pokémon Snap also makes for an ideal podcast game. It doesn't require your full, undivided attention while playing it, so you can easily listen to something else at the same time. One of the main hooks of the core Pokémon games is trying to fill out your Pokédex and catch them all. New Pokémon Snap has its own version of this with the Photodex. Every Pokémon you photograph gets recorded in the Photodex. There's something very satisfying about watching the Photodex fill in. I think gamers inherently find satisfaction in collecting things, be it in-game collectibles or trophies and achievements, and while I don't really feel the need to max out my Photodex in this game, new Pokémon Snap did a really good job of scratching that collecting itch along the way. When you return from an expedition, you'll submit your photos to Professor Mirror for grading. There are 5 criteria on which your photos are graded, those being the Pokémon's pose, what way the Pokémon is facing, the Pokémon's size in the shot, the Pokémon's placement in frame, and if there are any other Pokémon featured in the background of the picture. Your photo will then be assigned a bronze, silver, gold, or diamond rating, depending on how well it meets each of the aforementioned criteria. Where new Pokémon Snap adds a little bit more depth is by also assigning an additional 1 to 4 star rating to each photo of a Pokémon. And you'll need to get a photo in every star rating for each Pokémon to fully fill out the Photodex. The star rating of photos is based entirely off of what the Pokémon is doing in the photo and has nothing to do with the quality of the picture. One major issue I have with new Pokémon Snap is that it only lets you choose one photo per Pokémon to be graded by the professor after an expedition. I'd much prefer if you were able to select one photo per star rating for each Pokemon, because only being able to submit one photo of a Pokemon at a time means that you'll need to go back and photograph every Pokemon at least 4 times to fill out the photo decks. This just feels like a way to artificially pad out new Pokémon Snap's runtime, and means that getting a diamond graded photo of each Pokemon in all 4 star categories is just way more work than it's worth. Though those looking to extract every ounce of value out of new Pokémon Snap will certainly have a lot to do. Once you've had your photos assessed, you'll be given the option to save any pictures you like. You can even edit and mess around with your pictures by adding filters and stickers to them. Like the original game, new Pokémon Snap also gives you a handful of items that can be used in your pursuit of better photographs. Every item is a revamped equivalent of the items found in the original game, though strangely they've all been changed and renamed, which is odd as they're all so similar and serve the same purposes that they did in the N64 game. Apples have been replaced with fluff fruit, which can be fed to or thrown at Pokemon to get their attention so you can snap some better shots of them. And new Pokemon Snap also has its own take on the Pokeflute in the form of music that's played through your camera. This music will elicit reactions from certain Pokemon, like getting them to dance, or it can even annoy a Pokemon into moving if they're in the way of something or in a position where you can't get a good photo of them. For such a simple game, new Pokémon Snap beats you over the head with an absurd amount of tutorials at the beginning. I understand that this game needs to be accessible for kids, but it just takes way too long to actually get into the game, and I'm sure kids would also be bored by these lengthy tutorials. My favourite aspect of new Pokémon Snap is that it actually lets you see Pokemon out in the wild behaving more like real animals than they ever do in the mainline games. I also love the way the environments evolve on repeat visits. When you visit locations multiple times, you accumulate XP that increases that location's research level. As a location's research level goes up, you'll start to observe things changing in that environment. Different Pokemon might appear, and others might start exhibiting different behaviours. For example, some Pokemon that start out skittish, running away the second they see you, may get used to seeing you around and become less shy and more playful, allowing you to get some better shots of them. Many of new Pokémon Snap's maps also feature nighttime variants, which drastically change what you'll find in the level. There are nocturnal Pokemon that'll only appear at night, and you'll regularly see the Pokemon you photographed in the day sleeping at night. There's also Illumina spots in certain locations. These levels serve as Pokémon Snap's big set-piece moments. In them, you'll be following one of the glowing Illumina Pokemon throughout the level, trying to get the best possible picture of it, which is a little more challenging than photographing other Pokemon, as these Illumina Pokemon are constantly on the move. Some of new Pokémon Snap's levels even have branching paths. Discovering a branching path will allow you to deviate from your regular route around the map, letting you discover some different Pokemon and get better angles of other Pokemon that you've only seen in the distance. There's even a handful of branching paths that unlock new levels. Another way new Pokémon Snap expands on the original game's formula is through the inclusion of side quests in the form of requests. These requests will regularly give you hints that'll help you discover and lure out different Pokemon in locations you've already visited. Though the instructions for some requests are a bit too vague and would be pretty difficult to figure out without a guide. This feels particularly strange and out of place in such a casual game. While I mostly enjoyed new Pokémon Snap's slow pace, it's definitely a game you need to be in the right mood for. A couple of times towards the end of my playthrough, I was trying to get pictures of specific Pokemon near the end of levels, and I did find myself getting a little bored watching my cart slowly truck along for several minutes at a time. Like the original game, new Pokémon Snap does eventually offer a way to pick up the pace, but it takes far too long to get and means that you spend most of the game moving along at a snail's pace. New Pokémon Snap offers a great amount of variety in its environments, which makes sense as different elemental types of Pokemon would naturally thrive in different environments. New Pokémon Snap sees you travelling between different islands that all showcase different geographical biomes. There's forests, beaches, snowfields, and even underwater levels. There's been a lot of interesting discussion around the value and pricing of games over the past couple of months, with these conversations mostly focusing on Returnal and new Pokémon Snap. Some people questioned the value proposition of a full-priced Pokémon Snap game in 2021. When the original game was released, it was a very different time, but nowadays, people are used to more substantial experiences out of full-priced retail games. And with so many amazing games vying for our attention, it can be hard for a more niche game to find an audience. So new Pokémon Snap had quite a task ahead of it to prove its value in the current market. I personally don't have any specific runtime I'm looking for in a game. I always value quality over quantity, and I think there's room for games anywhere between the 7 to 8 hour range, all the way up to the 80 to 100 hour range in the AAA space. And I definitely like to see companies experimenting with unique games like this. While value is extremely subjective, I would say that for me personally, new Pokémon Snap does offer enough to justify the price of admission. New Pokémon Snap is a far bigger and more varied game than its predecessor. While the original Pokémon Snap took 3 to 4 hours to play through, it took me about 10 hours to finish new Pokémon Snap. There's also 11 maps all up, 6 of which have nighttime variants, and another 6 of which have Illumina spots. So there's over 20 different locations to explore when you include the variant versions of maps. This is a huge step up from the 7 maps of the original game. New Pokémon Snap also features way more Pokémon than its predecessor. Pokémon Snap on the N64 had 63 Pokémon, all of which were obviously from the first generation, as that's all there was at the time. Whereas new Pokémon Snap has an assortment of over 200 Pokémon from across every generation. There's also a lot of replay value thanks to the constantly evolving levels, and there's even some bonus post-game content, as there are certain Pokémon that you'll only be able to find after you've rolled credits on the story. New Pokémon Snap is one of the better looking games on the Switch. The Pokémon themselves look fantastic. In fact, this is the best most of these Pokémon have ever looked, thanks to Snap's crisp character models and smooth animation. Unfortunately, these detailed character models seemingly come at a bit of a cost. Occasionally, when too much is going on screen, or when a particularly large Pokémon appears, you'll notice the frame rate nosedive for a few seconds. Some of the environments are also far less detailed than others. While foresty areas always look lush, other locations can look surprisingly barren. There's also a lot of load screens between everything you do in the game. These issues really draw attention to the Switch's lack of power and make a good argument for why the long-rumoured Switch Pro is necessary. While new Pokémon Snap doesn't reinvent the wheel, it's still a worthy sequel to the fan favourite N64 game. It takes the concept of the original game and fleshes it out into a far more developed and substantial experience than its predecessor. While it certainly won't be to everyone's taste, new Pokémon Snap provides a unique and relaxing experience that's worth checking out if for no other reason than that there's really nothing else like it on the market. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, or leave a comment for lots more reviews, including my upcoming reviews of Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Biomutant. I'm also working on some different types of videos that'll be up on my channel soon, including my thoughts on some of the recent game showcases that have happened over the last week,